Can you guys hear me all right? Yeah, awesome. Well, first off, thank you so much for having me on this joyous occasion. I am Courtney Kelly. Some people call me Courtney, some people call me Kelly, some people call me Celeste. So that's the name of the character in my children's books. First off, I want to say congratulations to the Leadership Mesquite Class of 2025. I've been on one of these programs, like a 9-month commitment. And it's not difficult. It's not easy. It's very difficult sometimes to find time to do it all and to make the commitment for yourself, for your family, for your company, your employer, to make this a priority for you. So hats off to you, and we're going to dive in. So I want to start off by sharing. All right, I want to start off by sharing a little bit about me. So my day job, and I have a couple of jobs as you just heard in my bio. My day job is working as a project director for H.G. Russell & Company. What does that mean exactly? Well, of course, for construction projects, you're concerned with budget, costs, scheduling, safety, things of that nature. About 60% of my job, though, was dealing with people. Any of you share that sentiment? Yeah, people management, yeah. So some of the projects that I'm currently working on are the cotton wool renovations. If you guys went to the State Fair last year, you might have noticed that there's some construction going on, but if you go back this year, you will definitely see a difference. So the team is making that preparation for the State Fair. We also have another team that is working on a clinic for Parkland Health Systems. And that clinic is going to be in Richardson, it's called the Richland Clinic. And it's going to serve that community with a lot of different opportunities to have access to care that they don't have right now. Another project that I'm overseeing is in Fort Worth. There's a fire station, it's about 100 years old, so whenever we say fire station community center, people think, are you guys building a community center for the fire station? Not quite. The fire station itself was used back in the day and has since been transformed into a community center. And our community has outgrown it, so we're going to be renovating it. Most recently, I became an adjunct professor at SMU. And this actually happened through an email. Someone said, hey Courtney, we have this option available. Do you know someone, or would you be interested in teaching quality management and construction? I said, well, I don't know. I mulled on it for about 2 or 3 days and said yes. It's probably one of the best yeses that I've said in a while. Teaching at SMU, of course, is my alma mater, so it's kind of a full circle moment, but it was very interesting, the timing of everything, right? The last day of my last class was actually 13 years to the day of when I graduated with my undergrad degree from SMU, right? And so also at SMU, I serve on a couple of boards, the Allow Leaders Board, which is basically a sub-tier to the executive board, and I also serve as an industry advisor for the Civil and Environmental Construction Department. And last but not least, I'm a self-published children's book author. So being in the industry, the construction industry for a while, I realized there weren't a whole lot of people who looked like me doing what I was doing, right? So what can I do to change it? If I go and speak to a crowd of people like you are sitting here, then you may hear about my story for 30 minutes, maybe an hour, but then just stays there in the room. But by releasing these children's books, right? Kids, their parents, their teachers, anyone that is engaging with them in this material, are learning about civil engineering, are learning about construction, are seeing a woman in leadership doing it, and a black woman at that, right? So since the release in 2022, I've sold over 5,000 copies. The books have been translated into English, German, French, and Spanish. In a few weeks, I'm gearing up for a trip to Singapore. Well, I'll be doing some author events there. And one of the events is actually a dual language event with the French Institute, Alliance Française. And so it's pretty remarkable to think that, it's pretty cool to think about all the kids that are, engaging and interacting with my book. And outside of that, I dabble in a couple of things. I sit on a number of boards for Highland Park United Methodist Church. I'm on the board for a crane and AI platform for construction. I'm also on the board for SOSMC. It's an organization that is renovating buildings in Chennai, India, that help with kids that they have mental or physical disabilities, but these buildings flood all the time. So our organization is raising funds so that we can elevate these buildings so that the flooding is no longer a problem. So I say all of this to say, I see a lot of different forms of leadership. This is kind of me in a nutshell, right? I'm on a construction project. I see leadership from that aspect. I'm in a classroom at SMU. The picture from SMU was from our graduation this past Saturday that I had the opportunity to walk in. I'm in front of kids. I see the schools that have teachers and students that listen, and I see the ones that don't, right? I touch a lot of different aspects of society. And because of that, leadership is something that I think about a lot. Who am I as a leader, leading the people underneath me? Who am I being led by? And what does that look like for other people, right? For the people that are sitting here, for yourself, and for the people that you work with and associate with. So every once in a while, I get kind of fixated on these themes. Mm-hmm. And one of those themes is the idea of blinders and blind spots. Mm-hmm. Blinders and blind spots. So if you'll indulge me for the next 15 minutes or so, that's what we're going to talk about. You guys ready? Yeah. All right. So let's start with blinders. And I just picked up the Clydesdale, Budweiser Clydesdale for our theme for the day. Hope you don't mind. So let's talk about blinders. Last week I was speaking with some ladies, fellow ladies in construction, and one of them shared that she had been in a meeting, and I don't know what happened in this meeting. She couldn't share any details about this meeting, right? But one thing was very clear. She left the meeting feeling like she had been treated a certain type of way that was not very positive. And she also felt like because she was the only woman in the room, that definitely played a role in it. So she turned to me and she said, "Hey, have you ever encountered a similar situation?" I'm like, "Look, I'm a black girl in construction." The answer is yes, right? It's just the reality of it, right? And so I proceeded to share a few of the things that had happened to me. Some of them happened years ago, some of them had just happened in the weeks prior. And she was a little taken aback by my kind of ironclad approach to how it wasn't really going to affect me. And she asked, how did I manage to deal with it? So my response was simple. I put blinders on. Right? I know who I am. I know what my purpose is. I know what my mandate is. So unfortunate events, they are unfortunate. They do hurt. They do feel. You do have to process them and engage with them in a way that may be a bit uncomfortable. But they don't knock me off course. I've got my blinders on. I understand that I'm not in competition with anyone but myself. Right? It's up to me to decide whether I reach my destination or not. It's not indicative of who's standing to the left of me or to the right of me. It's all based on me. So my blinders keep me from doing that. They keep me from looking to the left or to the right. All I can do is look straight ahead and forge a path, undistracted by the roar of the crowd and what's happening around me. So on a broader level, what's the connection between blinders and leadership? As leaders, we have to remain focused and steadfast to cross the figurative finish line that we're striving for. For some, that may be continuing their business. Is striving, they want to keep that momentum going. For some, it may be starting a new business. For others, it may just be getting through the next meeting in their team without anyone having a major issue or setback. This means having a vision of where we want to go, but equally important, having a willingness to build a strategy around that vision that will make it more probable for us to actually get there. In other words, vision is meaningless without strategy. And strategy will get you somewhere, but it might not be the destination you desire when you get there. So along the way, life and people may try to dissuade you from pressing on. The royal crowd for you may be Instagram or TikTok. It may be in office politics, or as my sister would put it, the girls are fighting, stay away. If you turn your head and your attention for too long, you'll find yourself veering off path. So keep your blinders on and stay above the fray. So that's blinders, and I love my concept of keep your blinders on. Blinders have a problem. Blinders have an inherent blind spot, right? If you have your blinders on and you try to look to the left or right, all you can still see is straight. You can't really see what's around you. So this lightning bolt went off one day when I was trying to get onto the highway. It was one of those ramps that Warner Roberts, if you guys drive through downtown Dallas, there's not a whole lot of leeway for you to merge. People are about 70 miles an hour. I was like, why did I get on the highway right here? There are plenty of easier ways to get onto the highway, but I digress. Here we were. So I saw that there was very short distance for me to get into traffic, and I was like, all right, if I drive at this speed, I can make it. And just before I got over, a car appeared out of nowhere. It was in my blind spot, right? I didn't see it, maybe it's on me, I don't know. But I do know that had I tried to get over maybe a couple of seconds earlier, we probably would have collided. It was that close. And that's when the light bulb went off. You have blind spots. I have blind spots. We all have them, right? They also exist in our leadership abilities. So as much as I like to keep my blinders on, I have to realize that because of this inherent problem of blind spots, I have to be able to perceive when those blind spots are creeping in. And if I can't perceive that for myself, I have to be able to humble myself enough to surround myself with people who will highlight those blind spots for me, right? If I had a passenger in the car, they might have said, hey, Courtney, there's a car right there, wait. You know, if your car is equipped with all of the detection and collision detection stuff, maybe it would have alerted me, right? But sometimes you just can't see what's around you. I can't see the decisions that I'm making and the impact that they're having on the people in my teams, right? The office chatter at the water cooler that they won't tell me because I'm their boss. But they'll go run around and tell other friends, right? And complain about it, right? I can't be in all places at all times. For the most part, I'm sitting at our corporate office in downtown Dallas and I have people scattered around the Metroplex. I don't know what's going on in those job sites. I can't always pick up on my subconscious behaviors, the things that are really annoying to everybody else, but again, they're just so polite, they don't want to hurt my feelings, so they're just not going to tell me. These are all blind spots. And you know who can see them? Those around me, right? So I surround myself with friends, associates, coworkers who will watch me closely. And they'll see when something's creeping in, and that blind spot needs my attention. And they tap me on the shoulder politely and say, hey, Courtney, you need to pay attention to this. Now, this isn't a new concept, this idea of blind spots, right, or having a trusted board of advisors. But I was just reminded of how much of an old concept this is, because I'm an avid watcher of Korean and Chinese dramas. Anybody? Korean? Hey, I got one. Wow, okay, we have to talk after. Yeah, so I watch these Korean and Chinese dramas. For context, just think about a really long movie, like 24-hour long movie cut into 1-hour episodes, and you're there, right? They don't have sequels, they don't go on for like 10 seasons, you just got one shot at it, that's it. So in these dramas, my favorite ones are the ones that take place centuries ago. There's kings and queens, and there's a lot of divisiveness, and it's usually a battle, a war, right? So there's a war that's bound to be a commander. Someone in charge is going to lead the forces, right? And without fail, that commander, if they're successful, if they're smart, if they're strategic, if they have vision, if they have authority, they're going to surround themselves with people who will be their trusted group of confidants. They will stay by that person's side. And most importantly, those people are trusted enough to tell the commander what needs to be said without regard as to whether the news will be well received or not. The phrase that's lonely at the top isn't without merit. But as you continue to climb to the peak of whatever summit you're striving for, will you be vulnerable enough to surround yourself with people who can bring attention to your blind spots and alert you to when they start to creep in? Right? And so in our short time together, I hope I've given you some things to ponder and contemplate as you go out into the world from today onward. But because you're going out into the world, and we know the world is what it is right now, I want to touch on a little something else with our time together. If someone was to ask me, when was the perfect time to be a leader, to be called into duty, I would venture to say that now isn't it. Now isn't it. Between the instability of the markets, uncertainty around tariffs, the rapid adoption of AI, and the efficiency or disruption that it's causing to industries around the globe, add on the backlash of return to office mandates, the injection of Gen Z into the fold, I will not pick this time, this year, 2025, as an opportune moment to be a leader. And honestly, as someone who was in leadership, managing a $30 billion construction project at DFW Airport during the COVID-19 pandemic, I'm feeling a little bit like I'm having deja vu. Anybody feel it too? Yeah. Now, in saying that, I in no means want to take away from the severity and the seriousness of the pandemic, but from a leadership standpoint, the speed at which we're having to react to multiple elements that were either not a source of contemplation before, like, is the cost of everything at Walmart about to go up? Right? Or things that were trivial at best. the number of times that we're having to think about these things is just increasing in a similar fashion, like it did when we were dealing with the pandemic. So for a few years, we didn't have to worry about imports and exports, for the most part. Supply chain backlogs, for the most part, and again, drastic price increases, but here we are. The technology disruptor at that time was the onset of virtual meetings. How do I log into Teams? Zoom, which one are we on today? Now we have to get our hands around AI and figure out how we're going to manage that, right? During the pandemic, people were forced to work from home, and some loved it so much that they did not want to go back to the office. It's a different problem, right? So, add to the mix again the Gen Z effect. It's a generation that lost some years of growth, development, and the ability to experience a teenage and early adulthood in the way that many of us had prior. They're entering the workforce, and some would say they are a force to be reckoned with. So to all of this, I want to give you just 4 things. 4 phrases. One of them you've actually already heard today from the gentleman from Whataburger. But these 4 things are grace, compassion, dignity, and direction. I don't know where these came from. Again, I just get these things, I lock onto them, and I keep mulling them over, right? So grace. The phrase that I've clung on to for over the years is that people are doing the best of what they have, right? If you're dealing with someone, maybe they're a little irate. If you think they're doing the best of what they have, it kind of minimizes that tension in that situation. Their best is their innate abilities and what they've been taught. So when you encounter a situation and someone's messing up or getting on your nerves, just keep this in mind and give them grace. They're doing the best of what they have. Compassion. So through the years, I've guest lectured at SMU various times, in January, this is the first time that I was completely responsible for like all the students in the class. So what this meant is that their final grade, their GPA, and for some of them, whether they actually graduated or not, was all under my hands and my purview, right? So I was carrying on with this semester and chatting with a friend about how things were going, and he proceeded to tell me about his experiences in college and how he wouldn't be where he is today, leading a $3 billion firm, if it hadn't been for professors who were compassionate towards him in his college years. So his request of me, and now my request of you, is to be compassionate. Dignity. Dignity, I don't know why this just kind of hit me lately, but I don't watch the news. I just don't. Don't tell my dad. He'd be like, Courtney, you need to watch the news. What's going on? I'm like, nah, Pops, I'm good. But I do skim headlines and kind of see what's going on in the world. And I don't know why, but as I look at what's happening in the past few weeks, I just feel like a sense of dignity has been lost. I don't know why. I just feel that way, right? So I think it's incumbent upon us as leaders in the room to continue taking up that mantle of dignity, even when it's unpopular. And last but not least, direction. So each year, Project Unity, if you haven't heard of it, is an organization about racial justice and reconciliation and healing. But they assemble a choir made up of people from all around the Metroplex. Their goal is to have 200 members, so you can imagine, like, we could be the Project Unity choir. We're made up of people from different backgrounds, different walks of life, different talents and abilities, and they're supposed to all get together and sing. Over the course of 2 months, they practice, and then they perform at the Meyerson, usually with a Grammy Award-winning artist. It's a tall order. So the person that has been tapped to make all of this work, his name is Clark Joseph. And he's responsible for whipping this group up into shape and making it look like this choir has been together since the dawn of time. So I learned a lot from Clark during my time with him and being a part of the choir. But one of my favorite things that he told us one day was, if you don't give people direction, they will make their own decision. Right? If you don't give people direction, they will make their own decision. So, I'll leave you with this. Blinders, blind spots. In these 4 words, grace, compassion, dignity, and direction. Thank you to the Mesquite Chamber of Commerce for allowing me to speak to you today, and I wish you all the best of luck as you carry the torch of leadership across the city of Mesquite and beyond. Thank you.